So I'm back from doing my breakfast in London this morning, and dogs were kind of chewing their faces off, so I brought them out and we've got down on our walk looking for a nice spot to kind of capture some stuff. And look, I'm being hounded by a group of cows. I'm thinking of whether to kind of quote Amos at them, "You fat cows of Bashan," and let's see if they'll get out from here, see if we can walk on through. Otherwise I have to think of a good verse to kind of share that's about cows. What I was actually thinking about doing was kind of talking a little bit more about what it meant when I talked the other day about the meaning of mankind as producer, builder, and I made that reference that, of course, the first Adam was a producer, the second Adam was a builder, because actually, you know, the word that we translate as carpenter when we think about Jesus, there's the Greek words tekton. We get the word architect from it. Actually, it's interesting because Paul calls himself an architecton. He says, I work alongside him as a master builder. Because actually, I think the ancient world were much more in touch with the fact that the word tekton, which we think of as a carpenter, is not that carpenter is wrong, but it's more of an artisan, craftsman. And in Jesus' day, those people kind of worked on building sites. And they weren't kind of making ornate chair legs to kind of in terms of the way that they were doing their carpentry. Let's see if we can just walk our way through the cows with great authority. Yeah, they're thinking about giving some space. Thank you very much, cows. So, let's move on through. I'll let you come through as well. It is. Come in, we'll all walk through. Yeah, they normally let us through. Yeah. Let's see if the dogs follow us. There we go. Good, well there they go, that was all a bit of an adventure. So, go on. So what was I just saying there? So we just, oh yes, that's right, the architect on making kind of table legs and so on and so forth. But what's really interesting, of course, is so Jesus, when he comes in his incarnation, he's born into a building family, a tekton family. But if you kind of go back into the Old Testament, of course, we see Jesus kind of prefigured in the character of wisdom, who we meet in Proverbs 8, where wisdom declares that when the earth was kind of created, she, because it's in the feminine there, is with God. But we shouldn't get hung up on the gender, because God is neither female nor male. We use father, son, etc. But it's much more of a kind of cultural understanding than a kind of an eternal understanding. And so wisdom declares herself as being active in creation with God. And as you kind of run down that passage in Proverbs 8, suddenly it declares, I was alongside him as a master craftsman or as a master builder. It's the same kind of Hebrew word, the idea of craftsman, builder and so on, that tekton is in the Greek. And of course Jesus says to his disciples that he is going to, in the future tense, I will build my church. Paul picks that up in Ephesians, that we are being edificized, we're being built together. We often think about being built together as if it's just a kind of a purely, actually I'm going to turn around so you can see my face now. As if it's purely the kind of concept of kind of bodybuilding or whatever, but it's not. It's it's actually a building word. It's to do with putting a house together. We've been built together. So Paul is kind of acknowledging, he says he works alongside Jesus, because I think the early church all fully understood that context. We've kind of romanticised the concept of tekton into carpenter, that Jesus therefore was a builder. He was a builder from creation, because he's there in book of Proverbs. He's a builder in his incarnation, and he's also a builder in the ascension, because he is going to build his church, and from that place of being seated in the heavenly places, he is actively edificizing us together. So it's quite interesting when you kind of see it like that, because actually in his humanity, Jesus did something that expressed something that was intrinsic to who he was right the way through eternity. And so it is with the things that I think God calls us to, is he doesn't just ask us to work for the sake of it. He asks us and he gifts us with tasks to get involved with that make sense as something that is eternally part of who we are. So I know Part of the reason I'm doing these kinds of things is because actually I was having a conversation a while back with my wife, just saying I know beyond anything else I am kind of wired to teach. I get so much out of it. I teach various things, even in a secular context. There's something in me that needs to kind of express and develop and put what I've got into other people. And so when I'm doing stuff that's about teaching, I don't think of it as hard work. I don't think of it as being difficult. I think of it as a natural expression of who I am. We often make this kind of strange distinction between being a human being and a human doing, saying, oh, we're not human doings, we're only human beings. But if you think you're a pianist, like my wife is, and you never played the piano, I would really question it. We have to do something to express what we are. The two are kind of so intimately tied up. And so my kind of encouragement, perhaps, and my thoughts out of this is that every one of us has gifts in us that are intrinsic to who we are. And God has gifted us with a context where we are supposed to work in a way that expresses them. So work is not a trudge, it's not a drag. That was a part of the curse, and that has been lifted, but work itself has never gone. Work wasn't a part of the curse. Being a drag and being pointless and fruitless was a part of the curse. The curse has been lifted from us. There are things that we can find to do that express deep things in who we are, that make us who we are, that give glory to God as we do those things. So those are my thoughts on my rather late dog walk blog. I'm calling them Crumbs Under the Table. You can find them a bit on YouTube. Please go and look for them there, see all the back past ones and so on, and please log on and subscribe and so on. But otherwise I'll be back kind of doing it early in the morning tomorrow. So until then, see you around. Bye bye.